Sometimes the most overlooked moves in hockey are the ones that end up defining a season. While everyone focuses on blockbuster trades and franchise-altering signings, championship teams are built through smart, calculated additions that address specific needs without breaking the bank or mortgaging the future. The proposed Teuvo Teravainen trade to Toronto represents exactly this type of shrewd roster management. Let's be clear about what Toronto is dealing with right now. The departure of Mitch Marner to Vegas left a gaping hole in their top six forward group that hasn't been adequately addressed. Brad Treliving said it himself. They lost a top six forward and haven't filled that gap. That's not just an admission of need. It's a roadmap for what needs to happen before this team can seriously contend. Teravainen isn't Mitch Marner. Nobody expects him to be. But what he brings is something Toronto desperately needs. Proven top six production, playoff experience, and the kind of reliable offensive contribution that can stabilize a forward group. His 15 goals and 43 assists for 58 points last season might not jump off the page, but those numbers came playing for a Chicago team that was still finding its identity. Imagine what those numbers could look like playing alongside Austin Matthews or on Toronto's improved power play. The beauty of this proposed deal lies in its structure. Toronto will be giving up pieces they can afford to lose: Ben Danford, Kaye Jarnkrok, and Nick Robertson, for a player who immediately addresses their most pressing need. Danford is their top defensive prospect, sure, but he's still years away from NHL contribution. Sometimes you have to trade future potential for present-day solutions. Jarnkrok's inclusion makes perfect sense from multiple angles. He's coming off an injury-plagued season where he managed just 7 points in 19 games. His $2, $1 million cap hit represents money that could be better allocated elsewhere, and he's entering the final year of his contract anyway. For Chicago, he becomes a versatile forward who can play multiple positions while they continue their rebuild. Nick Robertson's situation is perhaps the most intriguing part of this deal. The young forward signed a one-year, $1, $85 million contract to avoid arbitration, but his role in Toronto remains unclear. He's shown flashes of offensive ability, but he's never quite found consistent footing with the Maple Leafs. A change of scenery to Chicago, where he might get more opportunity in their top six, could benefit everyone involved. From Chicago's perspective, this trade makes tremendous sense. They're in full rebuild mode, accumulating young talent and prospects while moving veteran players who don't fit their timeline. Danford represents exactly the type of young, developing defenseman that rebuilding teams covet. Robertson gives him a young forward with upside who might flourish given more opportunity. The financial aspects work beautifully for Toronto. Teravainen's contract, 3 years, $16, $2 million total, represents excellent value for a proven top six forward. That's just $5, $4 million per season for a player who should easily provide 20 to 25 goals and 60 to 70 points in Toronto's system. Compare that to what top six forwards command on the open market, and it's a bargain. More importantly, this deal addresses Toronto's most glaring need without disrupting their core structure. Teravainen would slot perfectly as their second-line left wing, finally giving them the depth scoring they've been missing. He's got the skill to play with quality centers, the experience to handle pressure situations, and the two-way awareness that modern NHL coaches demand from top six forwards. The playoff implications are significant. Teravainen has been through deep playoff runs before, including a Stanley Cup victory with Carolina. He understands what it takes to perform when the stakes are highest, when every shift matters, when role players need to step up and contribute beyond their regular season expectations. That experience becomes invaluable for a Toronto team still searching for their first playoff series victory in years. Consider how this changes Toronto's forward depth chart. Suddenly, they have legitimate scoring threats on multiple lines. Their power play gets another skilled option. Their penalty kill gets more flexibility. It's the kind of ripple effect that smart general managers understand. One good addition can improve multiple aspects of your team. The timing couldn't be better. Chicago is motivated to move veteran players for future assets. Toronto needs immediate help and has the prospect capital to make it happen. Both teams get what they need without overpaying or making desperate moves that compromise their long-term planning. Chris Johnston's reporting that Toronto is looking to move multiple bottom six forwards only reinforces how this deal makes sense. Jarnkrok and potentially Robertson are expendable pieces, players who don't have defined roles in Toronto's plans. Converting them into a legitimate top six contributor is exactly the type of asset management that championship teams execute. There's also the development aspect to consider. Sometimes young players like Robertson need a change of scenery to reach their potential. Chicago could provide the ice time and opportunity that Toronto simply can't offer. Meanwhile, Toronto gets a finished product who can contribute immediately while their core is still in its prime. The beauty of this proposed trade is that it doesn't require Toronto to give up any of their established NHL regulars or core prospects. Danford is valuable, but he's not in their immediate plans. The forwards they'd be moving don't have clear roles anyway. It's the definition of addition by subtraction, improving your roster while clearing space for the improvement. Would this trade make Toronto a Stanley Cup contender? Probably not by itself, but it would address their most obvious roster weakness while maintaining flexibility for additional moves. Sometimes championship teams aren't built through one massive transaction. They're constructed through a series of smart, targeted acquisitions that address specific needs. What do you think about this potential Teravainen trade? Is he the type of top six addition Toronto needs, or should they aim higher? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button if you want more analysis of the trades that could shape the Maple Leafs championship aspirations.